My name is Christina Swetnam. I'm a volunteer and I'm the chair of Smoke Free Kings. And I really take a lot of pride in being part of this organization. We started with just a handful of people. It's not an idea that went from a big group and a big committee. It started with just a small group in Kings County called Smoke Free Kings. We had an idea and now it's at the level where it's going around the world and we're just so excited to be part of it. You can make a difference. You think I'm one person and I can't make a difference, but when you join up with other like-minded people, it just grows. People join on. You're like the Pied Piper, and the idea grows and other people get on board, and before you know it, something that you thought couldn't be attained is attained.
In the process of the work that we've done with Smoke Free Kings, we first of all, I think, established a very important conviction, and that was that there was an issue to be resolved on behalf of our citizens. Having that conviction then led us through a process that we felt was not easily challenged. And so we were confident that what we were doing was right. The principal objection on the part of the public when you're dealing with issues like this is that they're afraid of intrusion into their private space, and they don't see government as legitimately there. And so overcoming that in the education and information campaign will be one of the main objectives of your work.
As a medical officer of health for this area, one of my major responsibilities is to protect the health and well-being of people who live in communities here. And one of the major issues, of course, is exposure to tobacco smoke, and environmental tobacco smoke. And this has led me to work with Smoke Free Kings because their mission is, it's an organization made up of professionals and volunteers who are committed to reducing harm related to tobacco use and exposure to tobacco smoke in Kings County. That's this area here. So it makes it perfectly logical to work with them and to help them out in terms of their work.
Think about it this way. Kids are very vulnerable. They're small, their lungs are delicate, they're still growing. And you know, when I see people smoking in cars or just smoking in general, I think, you know, they have, some of these children, like my son, had asthma, and they weren't given a choice. They had lungs that had problems, and smoke around them made their life more difficult.
It's clear from action taken by the Supreme Court of Canada in 2001 in a very special case in Quebec that municipal governments have an obligation to protect its citizens where there are threats of harm. And that's the precautionary principle. One does not need irrefutable proof of harm in order to make legislation to protect persons against medical or other issues.
We know, there's no doubt about it, that environmental tobacco smoke can harm the health of people who are exposed, and it's important to protect them from that type of exposure.
And laws do need to be passed too. I think that takes away the social normalcy around smoking. When you have a law in place and you're driving down the road and you have a conscience and you have a cigarette in your hand and children in the back, you're thinking, everyone's looking at me, I'm smoking a cigarette and I'm endangering my children. And just having that law will take away the normalcy of that situation, and people will stop. And not long after we passed this law in the town of Wolfville, I was in a Walmart parking lot, and someone got out of they put their kids in, and they were getting ready, and I saw them get their package of cigarettes out, and they closed the car doors, and they stood and had their cigarette outside the vehicle. And it was only within a week, and I thought, oh, I just want to go over there and say, wow, what a wonderful thing you've done to stop and get out of your vehicle and have your cigarette before getting in and driving off with those kids.
Well, at the outset, when we worked with Smoke Free Kings and addressed the issue of smoke-free public places and then later moved to smoking in cars with children present, There were 4 municipal units in this area that were engaged in that dialogue, but in the end, 3 of those municipal units chose not to proceed as we did. And so we were the only municipal unit left standing in the end and to pass bylaws, which later became provincial legislation, to address the issues around smoking in both indoor public places and in cars.
I want to encourage you not to give up on your smoke-free cars. Sometimes you'll come across obstacles. You have to persevere. And on our website, we've laid out all the tools on how you go about it. We have our strategic plan done, and that can be used anywhere. And we've purposely done that so that any of the obstacles that we have run across, that you won't have the same kind of problems. It's sort of like we don't want you to have to reinvent the wheel. So it's there. We want to help you. This is something important, and it needs to be done around the world, so we're here to help you.